not answering me back. I double checked with Jeff. I had everything set up right. No, that's what I'm saying. I've got it all set up because I was able to punch up that other thing to get it in there. But I can't do it. I get nobody to do it. I'm off of the board because called and I went to his voicemail. And I called the office and they voiced it. And then it's talking.
that?
No.
Have you seen that?
The Phillips because of the
I was down there.
Marty Kingby.
I was down at Myrtle Beach and one of the ladies drinking Peterson. The Duke of Lewis company. It's all nice. You go, you got here meeting in the king.
I bet you could work with King. They say, I love King, and you get the King back. Oh, no,
How did they not realize when these people were dead?
Oh, no. I mean, I was like, are they like the same person back then? I mean,
How did they clean the place up?
well, some of them were wearing costumes and handmade stuff. I mean, that's not true. They're not going to stand out, are they?
let me say this before we go in great detail. All right. A lot of times it's difficult. There are a few of you that are a very, very, very small minority that no matter what is said, no matter what's done, you print garbage, to tell you the honest truth. Now, the overwhelming majority of you, and I want to be clear as clear can be, you do a good job. You really do. I just wonder so much if today, after we go through more news, your journals, journalism is a really prideful profession. But yet when you distort or you write, no, wait a minute, you need to hold up on this. Hold up on this. Pick this back up.
Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Governor, why are we beginning with the lecture on the media?
Well, because here's the thing. We write about the flowers. And the truth of the matter is we distort the value of the dollars spent on the flowers in that we don't say that there was X spent before and now there's X spent and the delta is this. We don't report that Jim, the governor's, the gas that I pay for would pay for the delta. The meals that I pay for, the meals that I pay for the state police would pay for the delta, or my salary. But yet we try to run down us. Dumb down and run down us. It's a terrible thing to do. It's a terrible thing to do. And it puzzles me beyond belief to come out here and tell you a story that is unbelievable what the story is. And yet wonder really what we're going to write or what we're going to report. Because we as West Virginians are hurt. We are genuinely hurt when we report something that is not really the news. Now, I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, hitting at all the media, because the media does a good job as a whole. But those that want to distort and pull us down, they need exposed for it. That's all there is to it. You know who you are. Now, I'd like at this time to call up, we've got our president and our brand new speaker. And so if Roger Hanshaw would come up here and Miss Carmichael would be really good, I want them to join me, and then we have some wonderful revenue people that I want them to come up and join me. And again, we ought to give our new speaker a big round of applause. To point blank answer your question. My question would be just this. When are we going to write the news to the real story of how West Virginia is really doing? When are we going to write that news? When are we going to write the news that today that I walked in the door as a business guy? As a business guy. With ideas and approach and everything, and looking at a set of books that was as dismal could ever be, things started to change. When are we going to write the real prideful story about West Virginians that have done great, great, great work? Great work. Then we're going to get away from the next question, whether it be, yeah, but what about Alan Laird? You know, or, well, what about those flowers out there? When are we going to write the real story about what Jim saves instead of throws away? When are we going to write the story that everybody knows just how great this state is doing? And if you don't, you just drag us down. That's all there is to it. Now, you guys please sit. Last month, in the month of July, we reported to you that we had revenue in excess of $32.4 million that exceeded our revenue estimate by $32.4 million. Now, just so we'll understand this, let's just go back here. Let's just think just a second. First of all, and I want to make sure that I say this in the correct terminology, but my revenue estimate that I turned in included the $58 million. Now, we remember the $58 million, don't we? Because we wrote lots of bad stuff about the $58 million being hocus pocus money. Now, but my estimate included the $58 million. It was unappropriated. Okay, so if we go from July and we go the balance of every month and it's 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, we're going to come out $32.4 million to the good plus $58 million. Everybody get that? Everybody understands? One more time. From my estimate, the $58 million was in it. So if we are 32.4 ahead in July, and we go the balance of the year, we're going to come out really and truly $90 million plus ahead. Big time number. It's a giant number in West Virginia. A gigantic number. I remember that Phil Kabler said, I know they got the lays out and everything in July because the numbers came in at 32.4 million, but what are they going to do when they don't? What are they really going to do when they don't? And I mean, wouldn't it be just terrible? But where's Pam? Where's the boss? I'm gonna let y'all watch this video now real quick. You got that kind of one. For 1 month, July, 1 month in the new year, we're going to report a surplus of $32.4 million.
Things have gotten consistently better since October of 17, month in, month out. Every month, the numbers just keep getting better and better.
For the past year, we have set an all-time record high in revenue. All-time record. Okay? We set a revenue number of $4.245 billion.
It comes with 10 straight months of economic growth. The state got the largest total of tax revenue since 2015, and just in July alone, the state had a $32 million surplus.
It would be impossible to say that since I walked in this door that things haven't started to get better and better and better and better.
The last time that we had that much revenue in July was over a decade ago. It was in 2008. So we actually broke a record for a decade on how much revenue we received in July.
It would be impossible to say that Donald Trump's impact on this nation and West Virginia and the tax reform has not had a positive impact on our people.
Do you know that a few months ago, it hit where West Virginia on a per capita basis is one of the most successful GDP states in our union. So we went from being down and out, you're one of the most successful in the union.
The numbers are going to continue to trend in the right direction. As they trend, good things happen.
Good clap. Let me say just this too. There's way more to this story than just Donald Trump or myself. There's a story of a foundation here that was put together. And I don't want this to turn into a political news conference, but the reality is just always the truth to me. It's always just as simple as the truth. There was a foundation that was started to be put in with the Republicans in the Senate and the Republicans in the House. You know, just to tell it like it is, I was swimming really, really upstream. In the beginning, when I was trying to get things done as a Democrat, and I've been through that 50,000 times, they walked from me. But at the same time, just think of the foundations that we have in place today. You have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and these great people that are leading it, and you've got a Republican governor, and you've got a Republican president that cares about West Virginia. You've got great things happening. You've got incredible things happening within our state. Now, in Bill Kabler's defense, what is Justice going to do if the numbers don't come in as good? You had delays last time. What's he going to say? How do you possibly come up with $32.4 million again? How could you possibly do that? But you know what? I got delays again, guys. I want you to pass them out. I want one. I'll give it. Now, Rebecca, if you'll show them again, we'll make this really, really simple for you. If you'll show them again July, make sure you get July. And now, you can bring August right over here. You can open it. I'm down. Now again, I want to be your friend, and I don't want to push back at you guys in any way. Brad wonders why. I am telling you, this is the story. This is the story of greatness within this state, with Republican leadership all the way across the board. there's truth to the numbers when you look back and you say, well, where were we going to go? What were we going to do? And lo and behold, these are the numbers now. Now let's be fair again. And let's review. $65.8 million in 2 months. $65.8 million in 2 months. Above my revenue estimate that has the $58 million in it on top of the $65.8 million. Now, I'm going to just read to you really quick. No, I'm not going to read to you. I'm going to just pass all this stuff out. You can take it home and digest it. It's unbelievable. I'll read just a little. I told you severance taxes were going to rise. One of our leading publications said coal's dead. Coal's dead forever. Coal's not going to come back. Our severance tax revenues year to date are 150% ahead of the prior year's collections. Well, there's a hell of a lot of coal miners that are out there working today that don't really believe in any way that coal's not going to come back. I can tell you the coal severance tax revenues were the major source of the increase in severance tax collections. Think about it. I don't really want to hear about the flowers. All I really care about is making this state move forward, making job opportunities, make the drug epidemic go away if we possibly can. For crying out loud, the last thing on earth that I could care about is these things that don't matter at all. This was my job. This is what you tasked me to do. This is what the people asked me to do. Now, again, our year-to-date collections of nearly $665.9 million were $65.8 million above estimate and 19% ahead of the prior year. The last time cumulative collections through August were more than 19% was in August of 2010, same as July 2010. Our year-to-date revenue growth is largely attributable to severance tax, consumer sales tax, and personal income tax, which Mark would tell you is an absolute indicator of growth and everybody moving in the right direction. Our August consumer sales tax and use tax collections of $119 million were 7.2 above estimate and for all purposes 13% above the prior year. Personal income tax collections were $132 million ahead of, which were nearly $4.2 million above estimate, 9.4%. Cumulative collections were $16.1 million above estimate and 20.7% ahead of prior year receipts. Private sector employment is roughly 1%, is up roughly 1% above the prior year and 58% of the gains in the goods producing sectors. Employee withholding tax of revenues were up 8.8% in August and 11% year to date. Now, let me tell you something that is on the conservative side and on the businessman always says. Doesn't mean we're across the finish line. We got a lot of people out there that are still hurting that we want to try to help in every way. But these revenues enable us to help in every way. Doesn't mean that we're now on easy street. Doesn't mean that things couldn't possibly turn negative. Doesn't mean that we need to quit doing our job and go to sleep at the switch. Absolutely, we got a long ways to go and a lot of months in front of us, and we want good numbers to continue. But honest to Pete, we in the state of West Virginia, need to be proud of ourselves in every way. Every single person has done a hell of a job. These numbers are off the chart. Now, I wish you'd ask these great people any question you choose to ask. You can ask me the same, but it's up to you now, guys.
May I add a few things, Governor?
If you can add anything you choose to ask.
Anybody that knows me, 22 years of public budgeting, 6 with the city of Charleston, 16 with the county, and anybody that knows Mark Muco, 34 years of experience on revenue, Mike Cook, 16 years of experience on doing public budgets, we're a cynical bunch. And we really, really work these numbers hard. And we really put the governor to task from January 17 on, challenging these numbers, vetting these numbers, and making sure these numbers are accurate. Never forget what our starting point was. We were about $500 million underwater 20 months ago. The governor told us, number one, I'm going to raise the revenue projections in budget year that ended June 30th, 17. We were skeptical. They were correct. We came in over budget. Then, when we were preparing the budget in the past cycle, the governor said, I'm going to raise the revenue estimates $58 million. And if I didn't respect him so much, I might have said something that I shouldn't have said, but I was skeptical at that. Well, those numbers that we see here today are $65.8 million above the $58 million. So not only was the $58 million correct, $65.8 million on top of that in 2 months. We haven't done this well in a long, long time. And the people of West Virginia, we gave out all these great numbers. They're wonderful numbers. They're so good that we handed them out. The people of West Virginia, behind these numbers, there's a story. People are going back to work. These personal income tax numbers are absolutely spectacular. I have never seen budget change so much in my 22 years of public budgeting. I teach public budgeting at West Virginia State, master's level. I'm going to use this data to show the trends in budgeting in my class next Monday night. This is an extraordinary set of books here today. And it all started with the governor saying, as I said in the video, that the governor was relentlessly optimistic. We were numbers guys. We weren't so optimistic. He said the severance tax is going to come up. It did. He said the economy is going to get better. It did. He said I'll work with the legislature to get the road bond passed. He did. And from all that, the people of West Virginia need to hear the story today, 20 months later. These numbers are really good. They're beyond good. They're excellent. I would say they're probably nationally. If you look at, we were up on Wall Street in April. If you listen to the Wall Street brokerage firms and they talk about West Virginia, they actually hold us up as an example compared to New York, New Jersey, Illinois, where they are in a terrible financial state. This is a story, and this story needs to be told. It needs to be told to the people of West Virginia because it's beyond numbers. It gives the people of West Virginia optimism and hope, and it shows us that our governor, who was relentlessly optimistic, was absolutely correct, and these numbers prove that. But beyond the numbers, I think the momentum is starting and is going to continue. I think consumer confidence is going to go off the charts, and I think you're going to see more and more companies want to invest in West Virginia. The fact that we have private sector employment up, that's a Mark Muco thing, not me, but Mark is very optimistic about our private sector employment numbers, as well as the fact that these personal income tax numbers are coming up. That 150 increase in severance tax, 150% increase from August of 17 to August of 18. 150% increase. That number was so good, we went back and recalculated it 2 or 3 times to absolutely be sure that number's correct. That number is unbelievably good. And that's why coal in the southern coal fields, I believe we have in our data, employment's up over 12% in the southern coal fields, and it's up 3.2% statewide. So the coal industry has certainly seen the benefit of this, particularly in the southern part of the state, where, of course, there's a need to have hope and a need to have employment again. So I'm proud to be part of this team, and of course our revenue folks are here on the right, and we'll answer any questions that you have. But trust me, these numbers, in my experience in 22 years, I've never seen revenue numbers grow like this, ever.
Governor, the legislature wound up not banking on that $58 billion you anticipated. And so what happened was that there were some budgetary priorities that didn't happen. More money for tourism, more money for commerce, some community college funding mechanisms, intermediate court appeals, that kind of thing. At the time, I think I remembered you saying, well, we're going to do it later, that money's going to be there. Are those still priorities that you want to revisit? And if so, how soon?
Well, there's sure priorities that I'd like to revisit, that's for sure. But on the other hand, here's what I want to do, Brad. I think at this point in time, we need to, crawl before we run just a little bit. We are all just goo-goo-eyed over these numbers, and everything is just really moving how it ought to move. And we're all just feeling the very best, but we need to get a little bit more of the numbers under our belt and everything. Last year in the first quarter, it didn't work out as well as what we had hoped it was going to work out. So we've got a ways to go that is just prudent, conservative views. The other thing I want to do is I want to talk to the leadership of the House and Senate and think of just, I want us to do what are the very, very best things we can possibly do for our people. Naturally, I think we ought to put more money in commerce, we ought to put more money in tourism. I mean, the job Chelsea's doing is unbelievable, and we're seeing a real positive impact on the tourism side. Maybe not to the magnitude of severance tax on coal, but we're seeing a real movement on tourism as well. And I'm the first guy that would say this over and over and over, and I want everybody to hear this because it's really true. We are a natural resource state. We abound in coal, gas, oil, water, timber. We are blessed beyond belief, and we don't want to just throw that away, but we need to be diversified. We need to have massive tourism here. We need to have manufacturing. We need to have all kinds of different things, high-tech, or higher ed, and high-tech, and so many different things that we're right on the cusp of taking advantage of where we're positioned in this country. And there's geographically. And so there's stronger diversification and still a strong, emphasis on our natural resources is where we need to end up.
What are y'all doing to diversify West Virginia's economy? Because I mostly hear about natural resources.
What are we doing to what?
Can I have some specific examples of what GOP leaders are doing to diversify West Virginia's economy?
Oh my goodness, just think of the monies that we put into the tourism effort. It's unbelievable, just that in itself. Look at the emphasis and the impact that we've done toward education. Look at what has happened with education. How many reforms have taken place, whether it be getting rid of something just as simple as the A through F grading system on our schools, or the putting it back to local control, or getting rid of this ridiculous testing. Just look at our commitment to higher ed with the Blue Ribbon Commission. It just goes on and on and on. Look at all the work that has been done with China and Qatar and Wales and everything else as far as manufacturing within our state. There are so many opportunities, so many things that these great people, from the GOP side and myself, that we're trying to do.
May I weigh in on that, Governor?
Sure.
So this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, so I appreciate the question. One of the things that we think about when we look up and down the panel here today is that maybe I'm here to speak for the House, but I think I may also be here to speak for my generation, maybe yours. So I had a chance to read a newspaper Well, no, it didn't, because the U.S. Department of Labor says that 60% of Americans in the next 30 years will work in jobs that don't even yet exist. Jobs that don't even yet exist. So when we think about how we position West Virginia to capitalize on those opportunities and make our citizens competitive for those job opportunities that don't even yet exist, we have to think about things like House Bill 3093 that we passed 2 sessions ago, which did more to prepare West Virginia for internet and broadband expansion than maybe anything that this legislature has ever done. And we're in the process now of preparing another similar bill that we think will take another step forward in deploying broadband across our state to allow people to work remotely, to start businesses, to do e-commerce, to do technological business in a way that we've not done it here before. You know, the same story I read said that if a tech company outsources jobs from California today, and if they stay domestic, the #1 place where that outsourcing is done is Boulder, Colorado. And that fascinated me. So you dig into that a little bit, and the reason why that's the case is that workers in that industry, in addition to being tech savvy, like outdoor recreation. So taking steps to empower outdoor recreation businesses in West Virginia is a step toward a tech economy. And those two things aren't joined together nearly often enough in our conversation. We don't talk about what our outdoor recreation economy means to other sectors of our economy. That was an eye-opening experience for me to see that our outdoor recreation economy could be the basis for a tech economy. So when we marry things like growth and outdoor recreation, we're not only spurring that industry, but all the things that go along with it. We're going to plan to roll out a broadband expansion bill this year for exactly that reason.
Another question for you, Delegate Hinshaw. I was there the night that you were nominated, and Brad, I believe, asked you what was the greatest challenge facing West Virginia, and you mentioned the stagnant economy. And I had been to a press conference similar to this not long before, where I was talking about the growing economy. So can you rectify that?
Sure. A lot of that is mental. If we think about where we are as a state, a lot of the perceived stagnation that we have is as much mental as it is reality. People want to be associated with growth. They want to be associated with excitement. They want to be associated with things that are growing and doing well. So part of our responsibility as leaders is being cheerleaders for ourselves, being cheerleaders for our own state. We all live here by choice. Everyone in this room lives in West Virginia because we choose to live here. As I look around the room, I don't think there's a single person here today who couldn't pick up and move elsewhere tomorrow, probably make more money and do it more easily. So we're all here by choice. So when we talk about stagnation in our society, in our economy, realize that's as much a mental roadblock as it is a reality. So we have to become our own cheerleaders here, because people aren't looking to West Virginia on their own. We have to make it hospitable for them. We have to make it attractive to them. And the first step toward that is making it attractive to ourselves. We have to first acknowledge that we live in a great place. We live in a place that we've all chosen to live. We're all here by choice. That's what I meant.
Governor, do you know the status of the Barrel Company? Because I call those guys every couple of months, and I'm oversimplifying to make a point, but every time I call those guys, they're like, well, we're moving, call me again in 2 weeks and I'll have a major announcement. And I call them again in 2 weeks or a month, and they say, well, give me 2 weeks and I'll have a major announcement.
Sure.
Where is that project?
To be perfectly honest, I don't know. I don't probably know nearly as much as you, but because I've not spoken with him in a long time. I can say this about the kind of leader of the band, Tom Crabtree, and Tom works a lot of avenues, but and there's times when I have doubted that it was really going to become real, and whatever project Tom was working on. But he seems to always get to the finish line, and he's probably run upon obstacles in regard to grants or whatever that he's working on. But I really don't know any more than you know. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I got a question on drug addiction. The Office of Drug Control Policy was supposed to submit a strategic plan to the legislature about 2 months ago on how to reduce drug and alcohol abuse by 10% of the state. They didn't. Any idea what happened?
I don't. I really don't know all the details of that whatsoever, and I wish you know, that Bill Crouch was here where he could answer it better. You know, I can tell you that from my standpoint, what I see happening, I see the program that Huntington put on probably 6 weeks ago, and I was there, and the mayor was there, and the chief of police, and one of our, you know, upper people in the state police, and a lot in the National Guard as well, and there was a lot of enthusiasm and feel good about things getting better. But I don't know any update on that. Yes, sir.
Governor, congratulations on the numbers. It's clearly good news. Going back to the $58 million revenue estimate increase that we talked about today, the media were not the only ones to question that number.
Oh, no question.
The president did. It caught us all by surprise. I wonder under what circumstances you think we should apply scrutiny to numbers like that.
No, right.
Here, the Senate President chime in.
Right. Listen. We don't need to get in a food fight, okay? You know, just hear me out. I want to be your best buddy, but it's just tough. It's tough when things have turned as I know they've turned, and then watch these sideline carnival shows. I mean, because that's all they are. They're just carnival shows. They don't mean anything. I'm not going to do anything that's not right. I'm going to work every day. I'm going to work my tail off, and I'm going to give you results, and that's what I've done. Now, as far as that, when I put that in, my own people disagreed with me. You know, I mean, Dave Hardy just told you, he disagreed. You know, he looked at me like, you know, Governor, you're a three-headed monster. I mean, there's no way this can happen. I believe it. You know, it's not surely anything that I would harbor in a negative way that Brother Carmichael may have thought it was maybe, you know, stepping too boldly or whomever it may be. You know, it was a bold step. I stepped big, bold steps. And you know, but in my heart, I would tell you just this, and this would be the biggest thing that you would really be the most surprised about. If I said to you today, what do I think is the best characteristic that I have? What do I think is the best characteristic that I have? You would probably come up with a lot of things. You'd say things like maybe he thinks he's got a great personality or a great communicator or whatever it may be. What I think in my heart is the single best characteristic that I have is my ability to doubt myself. That's it. Because even when I'm telling you where I think we're going to go, I'm double checking all the time. I'm going to somebody and asking for their advice. These great people, whomever it may be. I am always checking myself. So it's not uncommon at all that anyone would have doubted the numbers, questioned the numbers. Yeah, I'd be first to say that was just what the media by the Justice Administration.
We've talked a little bit about consumer sales tax revenue coming up and playing a big role in these numbers, and we talked a little bit about diversification of the economy. And I know a big part of that is having a Commerce Secretary. How close are we to getting a permanent Commerce Secretary?
If you've got a great name, I'd love to hear it. I mean, I really would, because we have looked and interviewed and just to tell it like it is, I mean, here's the straight skinning. I mean, if you're looking for a superstar and you know the wage that we're able to pay, and to get somebody to give up part of their life, you know, to where they could get rocks thrown at them or whatever it may be, you know, it's difficult to fill the position, and it's such a key position. You just don't want to just fill it just for the sake of filling it.
How about the head of the Office of Drug Control Policy?
Again, I think Bill Crouch has got to be the guy to answer that as to where he is on that. I go back. I think we're probably closer that I'd want to tell you today about filling the commerce person, and I think we're close in the drug policy too. Yes, sir.
Chris, this is on Congressman Jenkins' appointment to the Supreme Court. Secretary of State told me last week there will be no special election, but a spokesman from your office said there will be a special election. So my question is, will there be one? And if not, were you aware of that when you made the appointment?
I was not aware of it at all. And maybe, Mac, you can answer this question better than I, but because I have not heard anything from my office whatsoever in regard to the special election. Brian, can you answer, or Brian, can you answer?
I didn't hear the first part of the question on the election. That's going to be a special election for James' position. No, because the general election will occur within those 90 days. So the law requires when there's a vacancy in the House seat, and there's a special election within 90 days, that general election is going to occur within that.
I don't know who to ask this to, but so safe to say that was just a misstatement, an error?
Well, if Bray Carey or Mike Hall or Chelsea did it, they absolutely were in error. I don't know where it came from. Did we issue a press release or something and say there'd be a special election or anything?
No.
Did we tell you anything?
No.
Because you've never ever said anything to me about that.
Never.
I don't know.
I have a statement from your office.
Well, like I said, you know, it didn't come from me. They're the people that can really screw things up.
Give us that.
Sure. Governor, following up on the commerce question, a few months ago there was talk about a realignment of commerce. Right. And I wondered if that is something that's ongoing, or if it's been completed, or if the search for a new director essentially is the realignment.
Well, it is a realignment, but we had three top officials that we feel like we can fill with 2 spots instead of the 3. You know, from the standpoint of I mean, let's go back and talk just 1 second about just that. You know, and again, and I'm not digging up bad graves here, but let's go back to what am I supposed to do? You know, here's the thing, and contrary to what anyone may think, there's not a living human that's done more, tried harder, had a bigger heart for the flood victims than me. No possibility. No way. And from a business standpoint, I'm an incredible flood victim. Still to this day, the insurance companies owe me tens upon tens upon tens of millions of dollars, and they're not paying us, and it's a horrible situation. Horrible. But in all of that, we stumbled upon an issue in commerce that was basically just this. We were throwing money away, and we discovered something that was just wrong. And a lot of things had to be done. And so we did them. And you heard a general say that the delay didn't hurt anyone, but not only did the delay not hurt anyone, but it got us going. It really got us going. And we saved a bunch of money. And I took a bunch of errors along the way. And in all honesty, the results are exactly what I'm supposed to do. And that's why, you know, to this day, when we find waste, we try to stop it. We try to stop it and quit just throwing. I mean, the one thing that would really surprise you about this job is this. The amount of dollars that the general public believes are just floating around everywhere, and dollars that people are spending and things that people are doing that are extravagant, the general public's right. There are things that we need to do a heck of a lot better at. A heck of a lot better at. Here's a perfect example. Now, I don't know, I'm still digging, and at some point in time I'll know more. But in past years, there's somebody either been in commerce or there was an individual that the liquor, the money, that was spent on liquor at the mansion got buried, and nobody knew about it. The amount of the volume of dollars was buried. There's so many things like that, you know, where if Ann were here, Ann could tell you, I think we put out a press release on it, that where the people, that we had to have 2 people sign off on a request in excess of $1 million or whatever it was like it. There's people that are in government that can just sign on to things that never ever should be signing on to things. There's no way they should be doing that. They shouldn't be allowed to do it. We're trying every day to clean up a little bit more. We need a great commerce secretary. Like I said, if you've got a great name, I don't care, Republican, Democrat, Independent, doesn't matter a bit to me. I am telling you, really and truly, we need a good name because we need a good leader in commerce. We're still holding it together and keeping it moving in the right direction. It's moving. It's moving. And we're making every show, whether it be meeting with Hino Motors or whether it be meeting with the people from Wales or whatever like that, or the Chinese. You know, we've met with them again and everything, and all promising, and the Cutter people, like, I don't know if I mentioned them, but we're making every show, but it's hard. It's hard. We need a great commerce leader, that's for sure.
Governor, do you have an update on the I-70 project in Wheeling? I know a lot of people are wondering now, what are next steps?
Our next step is to rebid it. You know, that's all there is to it. You know, I feel like we got taken advantage of, and I'm not going to have that. You know, it would have been easier to have come to you and said, well, we've got money, we got more money in, you know, from the standpoint of we got a better interest rate, and we got $200 or $300 million extra dollars, and so therefore we're going to eat 100 on this one and just do it. And that's not me. That's not me. I don't do that in business. And we got the scope expanded beyond what it should have been, and we got taken advantage of probably in the bid process a little bit. Naturally, things went up in price, you know, whether it be, you know, steel or whatever it may be. But just to tell like it is, we're going to rebid it. Okay, sports fans, thank y'all.
Thanks, Governor.
Where you go? Keep those.
You don't want the marshal. Like a whip.